Do you sell a done-for-you business opportunity where someone gives you 10, 20, 30, 40 grand and you just build it out for them like an Amazon FBA, a drop shipping, e-com business, or anything else? Be careful, because the DOJ is starting to now get involved and they're considering it a securities. That's jail. And not just the person who runs the company, but the salesperson on the phone. There is a case right now where the salesperson on the phone is going to be going to jail because they sold a 30, 40K offer, took people's life savings into a done-for-you passive opportunity that now by the DOJ and SEC have come together and said that was a securities sale without the rights to sell security. Holy crap. This episode was supposed to be about something completely different. I'm filming this because right about 5 minutes into the episode, Greg drops a bomb and I'm like, wow, we should be talking about this, not the damn thing that we thought we were going to talk about. So if you are on the phone selling done-for-you opportunities, or if you are the founder of a company selling done-for-you opportunities, you've got to watch this episode. We talk specifically about how it could land you in jail. I'm not trying to fearmonger. This thing is super important for the community. All right, love you guys. Stay safe. All right, now over to the episode. Greg, what's up? Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Welcome, Greg Christiansen, back to this podcast. Thanks for being here. Greg, what have you seen commonality with e-com stores? Because we spend so much time talking about coaches and information products. A lot of people think that if they run a physical product store, that like they're good. That the FTC doesn't really care about them.
That's not true. I mean, there's state and regulatory bodies outside the Federal Trade Commission that really monitor hard, tangible products and services. I've had several cases where, actually I had a case where the SEC got involved because a guy ran an Amazon offer. He did really well for Christmas a couple of years ago. And then he's like, hey, we did a lot of money. Why don't we raise a whole bunch of money and buy the same inventory for the same product and then resell it? So the guy spent, several months going on and raising money to buy inventory. And then he did it. And then the toy didn't convert a year or two very well, but he'd taken all this money to buy inventory. So a lot of these people lost money. So the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, got involved because they said, well, that was actually a security. It's funny because I didn't represent him, but I represented a client that teaches and trains on Amazon, how to run an Amazon business. And he got involved in the investigation part because he let him come on a podcast and he allowed him to pitch this idea to his mastermind community. And because of that, there were individuals in his community that paid money to this guy to buy this inventory to be sold on Amazon, and it caused a huge issue. So I remember talking to the attorney for this guy originally before he went on the podcast, because I didn't represent him, but he said, oh, we've done those securities. So I talked to his attorney who was supposed to vet this for securities, and he's like, yeah, we've got an exemption for this, blah, 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 and we've got filings, we've done everything. He never sent me the filings, but well, he went on the podcast without my knowledge, and he went into this SEC and Department of Justice investigation. The guy's currently serving time in jail for selling a security without a license. Fast forward to another case I'm dealing with right now. So I don't just help defend companies. I'm actually bringing class action against a group that sold an Amazon product as well. And my dentist comes to me 2 summers ago and says, hey, I invested $40,000 in this, alpha thing. It's an Amazon builder course. They were going to give me a turnkey business. I never got it. So I look at it. Within 3 weeks, his money's gone. So I asked for his money back, nothing. So I was like, well, I'll help you with this. And he's like, I got a couple of buddies that would love to talk to you as well. And I said, I'll throw a Zoom link up. And I get 50 people to attend. I'm currently representing 130 individuals. I was just interviewed by Forbes magazine last week on the case. And then I've got some producer that's on Hulu that just reached out to me on Friday because this has become such a big issue. But I mean, it's a $5
Greg,
million.
I just asked you before we started filming. I said, what's going on in your personal life? Let's see if there's a client-related issue or something that might be a fun topic for the podcast. He's like, nah, everything's good. Then he's like, 130-person class action lawsuit I'm leading. Like, that sounds like something we should talk about.
So,
Greg, you're killing me.
The Department of Justice just entered a plea agreement with the top salesperson the person who was selling this for selling unlicensed securities, and he's going to go to jail for 10 years. So they just proved my case for me. So what happened on it? I haven't told you a lot about this case. So I'm in the middle of I'm in the middle of another case in Utah. After trial, I sit down and I say, guys, this case is over, but I've got this case and I know I'm flipping the switch on this. I'm normally the defense counsel, but I want to bring this case. So state of Utah listened to me. I gave all the information to the Consumer Protection Division. They turned it over to the Securities Division, and the SEC started an investigation. So this all started because I went to the opposition. They're not, I don't look at it like that. We're just doing our own jobs, right? And I flipped the switch. So they brought the action. I was waiting because I've got a class action I'm about to file in a week against these people, but I've been waiting for the government to do their part, because you deal with a whole bunch of people. We're talking about police officers and retired firemen and school teachers. They took their entire retirement accounts and invested in these, and they've come to me to kind of help them get that back. So what do? Chargebacks, cancellations, refunds as much as we could. We made complaints with everybody across the board, and then we go to the regulatory bodies. I've been waiting for them. They just brought action. Now I've got this case where he's admitted in federal court of stealing my client's money. So now it's a lay down win for the class action. The biggest issue for me is one, I don't do a lot of class actions, but two, I don't know if the guy has money.
I was going to say collection's
going to be hardest, but federal government's getting involved. They've already, the Department of Justice already got this guy to admit guilt. They can go and seize assets, including personal property and homes, things that is difficult for a class action attorney. I'm not stupid. I went through this route. This has been very methodical. This is 2 years. Finally, it's going to get pushed over the board. I'm going to file this class action. I'm just going to wait until the Department of Justice does all the heavy lifting, all the work, because these guys don't have money. They've retained me to come and do this, and they've given me a small retainer to do it across the board, but nobody had the money to finance this. So we're like this close. It's like on the edge over the last couple of weeks. But this is all product e-commerce based, right? Yeah. They were sold that they could sell product and service. So here was the biggest issue in this case, and I see in other cases, drop shipping as an Amazon seller. It's not allowed by Amazon because of the same case that you brought up for this thing with the shoes. They were telling people we could get the product to you with an expedited time. Well, Amazon realized what people would do is, instead of doing fulfillment by Amazon, where you buy the inventory and they warehouse it for you, or where you actually, Amazon is holding the inventory because you buy it from them and then they sell it. Drop shipping is out, because what was happening is people would sell it. You go to an Amazon, you look for shoes, whatever, shows up, you buy, and then the product never comes. And then that loses credibility for Amazon because the products don't come. And then it loses credibility for the seller, and then they suspend the accounts because they can't have them. Well, this case here, Alpha was telling clients, come and do this, we'll do drop shipping because you don't have to buy the inventory. So they sign up for us. And what they don't tell them is it's against the Amazon rules. Article 3 of Amazon says you can't do this. And then they go and they put up in a store and they start selling. They get it pulled. So their accounts get shut down like that. And all of a sudden it starts this lawsuit. Well, the Department of Justice came in this case. The other case I mentioned, SEC, Department of Justice got involved in that case too. They went to jail. They're not just going to have civil penalties. Both of those parties went to jail for this. Now, the one that you're talking about, civil, they said that they could do it expedited and deliver it. They couldn't. So product delivery and all that, that's a misrepresentation. Of course, that falls under Section 5 of the FTC Act, because it's a deception. You're saying you're going to provide something when you have no intent of doing it. And in these other cases, the FTC could have taken these cases as much as the SEC, but they decided to go a security route instead.
This is fascinating, though. So this is a fulfilled by Amazon kind of done for you business offer. Greg, this is what we've been talking about. We just did an episode about business opportunity rule applying, especially for these types of businesses. We know of multiple people that sell these types of businesses currently that have their assets frozen by the FTC, but this just takes it to another level. So what you're saying is that when somebody sells a $40,000 hey, we build your entire business for you. Give us 40 grand. We source the products, sell them, set up your shops, get you up on Amazon. You're saying that the DOJ and the SEC have made a case at this point successfully that that is a security sale, where that's not, where they
Correct.
didn't officially get the paperwork submitted and they didn't have the rights to do that. So that, because remember, we did an episode where we're like, can the FTC put you in jail? And the answer was not really, but they can knock on the door of their big brother, the DOJ.
Right.
Now, the SEC can put you in jail. They have been known multiple times to
SEC is
bring.
just like the FTC. They have to go
Okay,
to
they
the.
can.
They're both civil. SEC and FTC civil. They have to
Okay,
rely
so basically,
on the Department of Justice for their
so
criminals.
right now, for anyone who is selling a done-for-you business that takes tens of thousands of dollars and says, sit back, relax, we're going to start sending you checks, you are saying that there is precedence and there are cases out there that have proven that to be a security sale.
Correct.
This is like, if you guys are watching right now and that didn't hit home, rewind. Holy, that is huge. Forget the business opportunity rule. This is jail time, right? And I can't go a day without seeing ads for these types of done for you programs. And I think what's going to happen, Greg, based on what you're telling me, is that this seems like the DOJ is just kind of waiting to see how this thing goes down. And once this is done, they have a template to now go out and really knock these types of offerings out.
I'm super surprised because I've got those 4 cases that are done for use businesses as well right now, that it was just the FTC and the Department of Justice didn't get involved. Wasn't referred to the SEC on this, but these are 2 identical cases to the ones that I'm dealing with the FTC right now.
What do you think? Is it size? Is it volume? Is it the one that you're talking about that the DOJ got? Was it bigger? Was it more money? Dude, that, it fascinates me, Greg, sometimes. Like, I really, really want, if anyone who's listening knows someone who's retired, I would never ask for anyone who's there still. They used to be at the SEC, FTC, DOJ. I just want to get someone on as a guest because I'm just fascinated by how they make their decisions. Like, why one versus the other, what goes into it,
But
um,
the referral on the one case I'm working on right now, I thought for sure it was going to be consumer protection, was going to go through the Department of Commerce. Instead,
mm,
so in Utah, we're unique because the Attorney General's office doesn't cover consumer protection. It's a separate division. Most other states, the Attorney General's office, it's like a section within the AG's office. Ours isn't. Ours is the Department of Commerce, and Department of Commerce in Utah has 2 main divisions: Division of Consumer Protection and Division of Securities. I met with the attorneys at the AG's office that are the Department of Commerce, but when I met with them, I thought this was going to be a consumer protection case, but it wasn't. They referred it to the SEC, and I could probably talk to the attorneys on that. We're on the opposite side on a case right now, but it's not like it's sometimes when you're opposing, it's really aggressive. But I'm never like that with opposing counsel. With the FTC, with the state AGs, I mean, why? They're doing their job. I'm just trying to do my job. And I win, they win. Like, it's a give
yeah,
and take type of structure. But
yeah.
I mean, I was really blown away that they went this route in the first place because I thought that there were elements of consumer protection that were violated automatically. But I think when they looked at it, they were like, man, this securities thing is so much easier to win because the law is so clear on this. And
Wow.
evidently
What,
what they did in this case on it, and I'll finish this. They went to
yeah.
the top salesperson first. They didn't go after the main guy that owned the company, and they got him to plead out. So he pled first. And my guess is what's happening behind the doors, because I reached out to the SEC attorney a couple months ago to see where we're at with it, because all my clients had filled out a questionnaire. I was like, come on, where are we going with this? And I didn't know that they were negotiating a settlement behind closed doors until it hit 2 weeks ago. And then it was like, okay, game's on. And then I indirectly talked to this guy's family that settled, that pled out. And it's all setting it up for them to go after the master player behind this whole thing.
And if the sales guy got 10 years in jail, imagine what the main guy's going to get.
Sentencing is next month, so we don't
Okay.
know exactly,
Okay.
but that what he pled for is 25 to life. And I was just saying, in similar cases, I've seen where it's been 10,000 or 10 years in prison.
damn,
Yeah.
I, damn, like,
And he's a young kid. I mean, it's the stupid part of this. He's a young kid, it's like, and
yeah, he doesn't know what he's doing. It's yeah, I'm
defense.
almost
Yeah.
it's sad. It almost feels like a little bit of
Well,
overreach. But then
you
you say, right, you're like, teachers, older people
get,
that like entire life savings are gone. And it's like, wow,
and the worst part of this is that the network of this was horrible, because what happened was, it was, son comes in, he thinks this is a good opportunity to make, because they were telling them we're going to make 10 grand a month. They had a pro forma and a schedule. I've got all the links and everything. I've done my
yeah.
research on this. And so I've got all the videos and all the webinars and everything in my archives, and you watch it and they're like, you join this by month 4, should be able to break even by month 6. You're making 10 grand a month by the first year. You've got your entire ROI built back and you're now just making profit. So son comes in, he sees this, he's like, this is great. Hey, dad, mom, you should get in this. Hey, brother and sister. So I have clients, their entire family, 5 or 6 members of the same family, that bought the same thing, because it was like one after another referred it back into it. And they didn't know that it was a fraud until their first account got shut down. And then their whole thing is like, don't worry about it. Your accounts are always going to get shut down. We'll get it up in weeks. They never got it up again. So it's just a mass deception. It's just a mass deception.
No, it is. And I'm at a pause because there are so many people right now that are doing similar things. I mean, you might be taking $30, $40, $50,000 from people with these big promises. It doesn't need to be an FBA Amazon business. It's just you're promising huge things, right? You're making it almost a guarantee and you're emptying out someone's accounts. I mean, this is one of the reasons why even at Learn, even before, it was first of all, our top selling program was 10K, and absolutely not. We did not allow, we just did an episode recently, right, Greg? We were like, hey, 2 credit cards. They start asking 3, 4, 5 credit cards. It's like, nope, game over. We didn't allow home loans. We didn't allow, and when I say allow, we didn't allow our salespeople to push it at all. And if the salesperson heard that this person's about to take some very risky type of debt, it was an immediate like, hey, you have to stop the sale. And it was because, I mean, honestly, just from a heart perspective, I don't want to put my customers in a bad spot, but like right now, we know that there's people out there that are encouraging it. So if you're watching this, guys, this is a precedent that should scare the crap out of you if you are selling these tens of thousands of dollars biz ops, right? Where you're telling. So that gives, I mean, it's basically like a buffet for any of the agencies because they all can make a case for it. And it's like, imagine you're so tasty, they're probably fighting internally for like who gets to go after you. So Greg, let me ask you this question then. What about that makes it a securities? Because let me give you the preface and the context, right? So there's been a lot of conversation right now about even myself, going out and raising money and doing so in a holding company to build out this really cool roll up and to build this vision. Now, obviously, we're going to get the proper Reg A, Reg D classifications, do all the paperwork, do all that. That's already been in conversation. But it's also, it's a little daunting because like you're taking in money from people and it would be micro investors, crowdfunding. And I'm just curious, in this situation, what about it do they link back to like, hey, that's a security when someone buys like a done for you service?
So here's what this security offer. Remember, my background is securities. I worked for Fidelity. I was licensed for my Series 6 and 63. In my law school career, my emphasis was securities. I worked as an investment advisor. I thought I was going to do securities law. Had a huge case with the SEC right out of law school before I clerked for the Nevada Supreme Court. So like I watch and monitor this a lot. I love the securities world, FINRA, SEC. So the biggest thing here is where you're coming to somebody and say, hey, I've got this opportunity for you to make money in something. And you're going to, this is an investment. Basically, they won't say it was an investment. Like the toy one on Amazon, they didn't call it an investment, but it had to be. They were pooling people's money and they were putting into a fund to purchase inventory to put online. So you can see if you're just, that's why when I met with the securities attorney, I was like, how are you getting around this? In my mind, this is an investment. You're raising capital it's an investment. You're pooling money and resource to do it. We're not talking about like if you and I start a business and we get 2 other partners and we all fund it with capital contribution. Okay, we're all partners together. We're talking about passive investments, and that's what the SEC and FINRA looks like. I don't do anything other than I give money and then I sit back. That is an investment. And so think
Yeah.
about like running an Amazon store. You give me my money and then you just sit back and you just to rake in the profits. That's a passive investment. If you look at there's no active participation, that's an investment. If you're asking your clients to do it, whether it's to operate a trucking industry business, Amazon, Walmart, Facebook, Meta, whatever it is, and you're like, all you have to do is put the money in here and it will turn you a profit, cryptocurrency, that is an investment offer. And if you're, especially if you're pooling a whole bunch of clients' monies into something and it's not registered, you don't have a REIT, you don't have a PPM, you don't have some sort of mechanisms to avoid federal registration, you're stepping into, you're stepping into a big poo ball that you could go to jail.
We don't want to step in a poo ball, and we
Nobody
don't want to go
wants
to
to on
jail.
it.
Yeah, nobody wants
Be
to.
like,
I'd rather step in a poo ball and go to jail. My gosh. You know, this stuff is scary to hear, but at the same time, let me just pivot it for you guys and share with you, like, as long as your intentions are good, counsel is good, as long as you're not planning on ripping people off and not doing bullshit, like, it's usually not, we're not going to fall into these big traps. But Greg, you're not on social media, so I don't know if you actually have heard of this girl, but like the Haktua girl, are you familiar with her? All right, so it's inappropriate for me to even try to explain to you why she got fame, but she's just someone, she had a clip on TikTok, it blew up. She's become world famous because she's funny, and she made this like statement, and she got her own podcast, and she launched a cryptocurrency a few weeks ago, a meme coin, right? Because right now everything's about crypto. The
sure.
thing takes off, a bunch of people bought into it, she had a bunch of people endorse it, and it actually got as high as a market cap of $500 million. And they're now in the proof, they can prove that she started dumping the coin after that and started mass selling. And the thing, everyone lost their money. All the retail investors who had put into the coin, they all lost everything they had put in. And there's apparently now a track record of the fact that they can prove that she was dumping.
So
And there's
dumb.
been conversation in the last few days that she's going to go to jail. Like this
For
is going
sure.
to be, yeah, she's going to go to jail for this. And it's like, holy crap. Like, you know, and the thing is, she's young. She has no idea. She probably has zero clues. It's probably whoever's directing her, guiding her, is doing all this crap. And
How
it's like,
old is she? How old is she? Like 7 dumb? Like 18 dumb? Like,
oh, like low 20s, maybe?
yeah, but come on. Like you didn't know that it wouldn't have been right to do that at 18? You would have known.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you're right. Um, so in this example, right? So let me just pivot, Greg. So let's say I'm setting up this entity, right? And one of the first things we're doing right now is we're talking to multiple lawyers, which, by the way, you're on my list. Once I have a whole plan, I was like, Greg has to sign off on everything. But we do it all appropriately. Everything is filed, registered, paperwork. We have every single investor, whether they put 1,000 in or they put 100,000 in, they go through the same process, accredited, non-accredited. We do all the rules. We follow with each person. Everything's tracked. Everything's documented. And we raised a bunch of money. We raised millions of dollars. We raised $5 million to build this whole vision out. Everything's disclosed. It's all good. And God forbid, in 2 years, it goes kaboom. It goes bust, right? As we say in the paperwork, like we're building something that could maybe not pan out, and you might lose all the money that you put in. In that situation, Greg, do you still see like people go to jail? Or because if it was all registered properly, it's like, oh, well, that sucks, but it was done by the book.
No, I've seen with PPMs, which is a private placement memorandum, where you're raising money and it's disclosed with a disclosure document, that if something goes sideways, there might be a civil suit over that, but there's never criminal actions for that because you followed the protocols and procedures.
Got
What
it.
the civil actions come into is that maybe there was the risk factors were too light. They didn't tell enough risk. But when you're transparent and you've explained up front, hey, this is a risk. You could lose all your money on this. We're only looking for accredited investors that we're like going through and we're going to vet externally to make sure that they're, I mean, all the protocols you're supposed to do when you raise money under certain exemptions of the SEC Act. You don't go to
Yeah.
jail for that. I mean,
So
if you lie, yeah, you can go to
well, that's
jail.
different, right? Yeah. So for example, if you do Reg A or Reg D or whatever, like we actually decided we want to work with a securities broker. So we're going to have them do everything. And the nice thing there is there's rules, right? So if you're an unaccredited investor, this I actually, for the first time, I was like, oh my God, I wish the FTC offered rules like this. I wish we could submit things to the FTC to get things approved, right? With the SEC, I find it's a lot more clear. Where so they come back and say, okay, fine, you can have unaccredited investors put money into this thing, but they can put in a max of this, a max this percentage of their salary, a max. And so if they're going to put in, you have to get all that paperwork. Hey, give me your tax returns, give me this, give me that. And what I liked about that was most of the people that would fall into that category that are my customers that might want to invest in this company, they wouldn't really be able to put in more than a couple $1,000s, a few $1,000s, which is what they invest in my courses right now anyways. So I'm like, none of that's going to put someone in the, none of that's going to bankrupt someone, but God forbid someone comes in and convinces them to take their entire retirement account out of $100,000 and put it into Onyx new company. I would never even allow that. But what I loved about this is sometimes you don't know what people are doing behind the scenes and you don't catch it. Well, in this case, there's multiple layers of checks and there's an actual FINRA certified, SEC certified brokers, dealer who catches it because they have to. So, guys, follow the rules, right? You really want to pool money together and do it? There's a lot of people doing that. Follow the damn rules. This is really, really big. This episode has been probably one of my top 5 favorites, Greg. You gotta, man, this is huge. Like, this is the biggest warning out there for people.
Holding things in the back. I didn't tell you I was talking to Forbes.
Yeah. He's so, guys, we're going to end this episode here on nonchalant. I'm like, Greg, what's going on? He's like, nah, nothing much, just same old, same old. I'm like, is there anything going on in your client circle world without revealing clients that we should put out to the world? He's like, nah. And then we get into, I do this whole stupid introduction about some other episode topic. And then Greg's like, oh yeah, I'm leading a class action against a done-for-you company and we're going to put everyone in jail. I'm like, what the fuck? Let's talk about that. All right, so if you're doing it done for you, and if you sell, this is the second case now that we've talked about that Greg is involved in some way where the person selling has gotten pulled into it too. The other FTC done for you case, the person selling got their assets frozen, and in this case, the person selling might be going to jail, and as a young person, probably had no real idea what the hell they were doing was wrong. So if you're selling on the phone, man, and none of this is changing, Greg, right? Like, Trump comes in, any of this changing next year? Nope. All right.
Fraud is fraud is fraud. I mean, that's just what it is. Like, you gotta, just do business, have integrity, do business right. I mean, if you're deceptive, that's the problem lately, Phonic. Like, when I meet with clients, they're like, well, if I do it this way, I can't convert. And I'm like, yes, you can, but you're lying to people right now. You're lying.
Listen, guys, so Greg, you'll like this, and this is a tangent. I'm gonna give someone a shout out. I'm not gonna say their full name, but Ed, if you're watching, this is a shout out to you. So Greg, at WebinarCon, I find out from somebody else. They're like, hey, by the way, Ed's just raving about you guys. He's raving about Complyly. He's raving about compliance training. I'm like, really? I don't hear that often. Who's raving about us? We're not usually, we don't bring joy to people's lives usually in the marketing world. And he's like, you got to go talk to him. I'm like, he's here at the event? They're like, yeah, he's right over there. So I went over there and man, I sat down, had lunch with him. And here's what he said. And he is no small player. This is a multi-million dollar, I think a month, if my memory's not failing me. And here's what he says. He says, it was a little bit of a tough pill to swallow when we first figured it out, but we don't want to mess around. We want to do things right. He goes, now, my people cannot even launch an ad or run an email without putting it through Complyly first. And he's like, you know what we found on it? This is the most amazing thing. I said, what? He goes, our conversions are up. We are converting better. We are bringing in better customers, and we're doing it compliantly. He's like, I have never been more excited about a tool in our business. And I was like, really? Wow. I'm seeing that. I'm just loving my business. I'm absolutely loving my business right now as we're building it compliantly. And what I'm finding, I did a test, Greg, with someone, okay? So we were on this cruise and I shared my vision of this company that I want to build. This is a vision that even you've not heard yet, Greg. It got me really energized. I've been putting it together for the last few months, and this is where we raised money, and I'm pumped. Like, everything's fallen in place. And so this person is looking at me. I said, hey, and he asked, like, can I be involved? I said, you can. I just want to be very clear. We're pretty aggressive. We're going after some crazy stuff here, and you might lose everything, dude. I'm just letting you know. Like, we're gonna try our damnedest best to make sure that doesn't happen. And I'm all in on this, but I just, you asked. He didn't even blink an eye. He's like, I understand. I said, okay. And all I can tell you is that conversation led to a place where the person actually said, hey, can you acquire my business so that I can get equity and I want to be a part of what you're doing? And I'm like, wow, really? Full disclosure and everything said. You, as a marketer, you far underestimate your customer's ability to accept and understand the truth. And you far underestimate the fact that when you do that, you actually bring the right people into your pool. And so, anyways, that's my little monologue for this episode. This was a really, really, really scary yet inspiring episode. Cut it out, guys. If you're selling done-for-you stuff, and if you're selling the dream of passive, the DOJ now has found their way to you as well, and that is just not a department you want to mess with. So, thank you, Greg, for that. Merry Christmas, everybody. Ho, ho, ho. We bring great joy to all.
Joy to you. No Spencer, my lad. Charles Dickens, everything. We're going to debtor's prison.
Oh, man. I love what I do, but, geez, I hate to be the messenger of these things. Everyone, we love you. That's why we talk about these things. Please stay safe. Hey, support us. Buy the book. Buy our Compliant Marketing Academy. Do things right. Do things with full disclosure, and then you don't have to go to sleep at night worrying about this crap. And get good counsel. I don't know. Hire Greg, all right, if you can. His schedule is damn packed. GuardianLaw.com. Try to figure it out. The person to woo at Guardian Law, if you want access to Greg, is Charday. Write that down, Charday. Shout out to you. All right, Greg, thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.